people always say, how did you start training when you were 21 and working within a year? As a dancer, being on my first arena tour, looking out to the left and just seeing my pops in the audience, 2 years prior moving back to London, I moved back to London with like £7 in my account. And I moved back in with my dad in Streatham, and I told him, like, I'm gonna be one of the most recognizable and booked male dancers in the UK.
Hi, my name is Daniella Ekundayo, and I'm the founder of In the Writer's Mind and your host of The Stars Behind the Stars. This series is your encyclopedia into music and fashion. I created this series for the people obsessed with the world of entertainment, the people who study their favorite choreographers, the people who study their favorite fashion designers, and I'm really excited to take you on this journey. I am joined with King O'Holi, who is a director of choreography, a movement director. He has worked with some of the biggest musicians in the world, from Ray to J Hus to Little Mix, like, oh my gosh, to Odeal. He's worked on stages like the MOBO Awards, concerts, music videos for the Sugar Babes. I'm really excited to be in his presence today. And also, he has his own creative and talent agency called Space to Create Management, which we're going to talk about as well in this interview. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, King O'Holi.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm super grateful.
I'm curious because I am someone who loves like dance, and like people will say to me like, oh, are you a dancer? But no, I just love dance. I literally like used to spend so much time on YouTube watching like, you know, the Janelle Janestras, like studying Homebros, all these kind of like dancers from like here to LA. Like I was just so immersed in that scene. Mm-hmm. What is a kind of unforgettable piece of choreography that you just can't get your mind off? It can be something you saw when you were a child or even now.
Oh, unforgettable. Or if I go back, I would say Usher, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And like Sierra Like a Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Also Destiny's Child, Lose My Breath. I think those three videos are just, yeah, stand out. And if I was to pick one now, it'd have to be Victoria Monet on My Mama.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That video is incredible, incredible.
Love those answers. And obviously you've been on tour with Sugar Babes on their first arena tour, choreographing that. Can we just really take in this career milestone? Because like for many of us, you know, 90s babies, you know, even the early 2000s babies, like we were listening to the Sugar Babes. That was a soundtrack to our life. And you even said like, you know, you used to listen to Round Round, like in the kitchen with your mom. Can you talk about just what this milestone means to you and also just how the opportunity came about and what it's been like for you?
Yeah, so firstly, choreographing for the Sugar Babes is incredible. I think working with three artists, essentially a band that have been around for the past 20 to 25 years, there comes with an ease because they know exactly what they want, who they are and how they want to move and how they don't want to move, for example. But I first got asked to do the Sugar Babes, I think 2022. And I actually turned it down just because of the logistics. And then it came back around a year later with the logistics looking a bit better. I think it was just natural alignment, especially divine timing of when it came around, because I actually felt more prepared as a performance director to then work with them. I think it's definitely been a milestone in my career, getting to choreograph to their first ever arena tour. Because as you said, like I'm a 90s baby, so we grew up, you know, remember the McDonald's toys? I don't know if you remember, but you play the thing and it's like, can we bring yesterday back around?
Because I know how I feel about it now.
Oh my God, it's epic. So to think like however many years later, I'd be choreographing and performance directing for their first official arena tour is mind blowing. So yeah, I'm super grateful to be working with them.
Wow, I love that. And I love that you've had this opportunity. It almost feels like your childhood was like foreshadowing that moment.
Yeah.
I love to start the interview from the beginning. And obviously this is your first ever video interview, which I'm happy that is it. The Stars Behind the Stars.
Yeah.
Could you paint a picture of what your childhood was like, what your upbringing was like as well?
Yeah. So I was raised, I guess, predominantly by a single mother. So my pops actually moved out when I was 3 years old. I have two older brothers, Edric and Adonis, who were both 10 and 11 years older than me. So when my pops moved out, I would have been 3, they would have been 13 and 14. My oldest brother, Adonis, he moved in with my pops, which then just left myself, my mum, and Edric. So I was raised in a household with basically like the three of us. Although I got to see my dad on the weekends and my oldest brother from time to time, it was predominantly the three of us. My mum was super firm. I don't want to say strict, but I'd like to say firm, because she was also extremely lenient. And because I was the last, my brothers would tend to say that I was a spoiled brat. Like by the time I came around, my parents they were super chill. So I got the nice treatment, shall I say. But yeah, growing up, my mum actually sent me to Italy with her friends every summer. So from the age of 5 to 11 years old, I'd fly to Italy every summer. The family that I stayed with, they had a camper van. So they would travel all throughout Europe, and then they owned a villa in France. So that we'd go to like 2-3 different countries in Europe. Then we'd end up in France for like a week. Then we'd go back to Italy, where I'd spend the last week of the summer holidays before coming back to London to start school again.
Wow.
So that's what my summer looked like every year. So my mum actually, although I wasn't with her throughout the summer, that she gave me the gift of just experience and being able to travel. Unfortunately, she transitioned when I was 11. So yeah, I lost my mum when I was 11 years old. But now looking back, it's almost like I'm grateful for the 11 years that I had with her. She was able to instill so many just incredible values and integrity in me that I still hold till this day. So yeah, I guess that's what my childhood was like growing up.
You really painted such a beautiful picture of your childhood and your mom as well. Like, other than the memories that you shared, are there any key moments that you remember with your mom, or any key messages that she instilled of you that you still carry till this day?
Key messages, I would just say, like, from young, she taught me the importance of understanding who I am, where I come from, understanding the importance of the color of my skin, and also knowing that, you know, I'm in a world where I'd have to work 20 times harder than everyone else that was in the room. And that was something that she was saying to me from like the age of 3 or 4 years old. And then on top of that, also integrity. She always used to say to me, like, don't chase money. Like, you will attract money, chase your passion. So from young, even when I had no idea of, like, I guess subconsciously this dance was always in me, but I didn't have like a true idea of this creative path that I've gone on. But it still applies now to the point where, you know, for the first half of my career, I really was just following my passion as opposed to chasing money or certain opportunities that I know would be more of a financial gain. I was actually turning down a lot of those opportunities that would bring me more money. But I guess it's full circle, because now I'm in a place where fortunately I'm financially stable, but that has come with first going after my passion as opposed to anything else, and being able to do that with integrity and knowing that I'm not selling myself out for anything or anyone.
I love that. I love that. And when you spoke about your mother transitioning, I responded saying sorry for your loss, and that's how people usually respond and pay their respects. But when you spoke about your mother, you spoke about the moments that you shared with her, those 11 years, and you spoke about it with so much positivity. I want to touch on that, just how you get to that place where you feel grief and you transition it into something that's positive, allowing you to remember what the moments was like with her.
I feel you.
How did you get to that place of strength and emotional maturity? Because it's really hard to get to that place. So how do you get to that place?
I would say, I mean, first of all, it was definitely a journey. I think that, you know, from the age of 11 till 17, 18, I kind of went through life with like a chip on my shoulder and feeling like the world owed me something because, you know, it's taken away the one person that I have an abundance of love for, and I know has an abundance of love for me. So it's not something that just came like with the click of my fingers, basically. I think I had to really go on a journey of just self-discovery. Also, I was raised in the church. So I was raised as a Christian Catholic. And I think that when my mum passed away, I almost started to be like, oh God, sorry for swearing. But yeah, that was really my outlook on it for a long time until I just started going to church again and also started finding what spirituality meant for me. And then I slowly just started to realize how much of a power it is to be able to have someone looking over you, guiding you, protecting you 24/7. You know, as opposed to having her here in this external world, it would be a phone call or it would be a text message or whatever form of communication. Whereas in the afterlife, like I know that no matter where I am, what I'm doing, I have her protection 24/7. So almost started to look at it with that type of perspective, which allowed me to turn the pain into power. So yeah, now or don't get me wrong, I still have my moments where, you know, I'm upset. I'm a 32-year-old man, but I still cry about it. But ultimately, I know that, or I feel that it's one of the most powerful things to be able to have someone who loves you so dearly in the afterlife, looking after you still.
That's a really beautiful message. It actually makes me think of a LinkedIn post I saw. This photographer, he's called Max Hemphill, and his work is incredible. He posted a picture and it was like this woman, this black woman, and then she had like a kind of like a bird like next to her in the picture. And the picture was so beautiful. And then with the text he added to the picture, he was like, oh, I almost didn't take this picture because actually I was like going through a breakup and I was finding it really hard to create. And it actually made me think of the struggles that us creatives have when we go through a personal loss or grief, and how it can actually stop us from being creative.
100.
And you seem like you have such a fast-paced life. You're working on so many different projects. And I also think about Megan Thee Stallion. That's someone who's been in the public eye, and she went through a massive amount of loss, but has still been so strong and, you know, forthcoming and just kind of doing everything that she needs to do. What advice do you have, like, for people in the creative industry who are going through like different sorts of losses or experiencing different transitions in their life, to just keep going and to keep pushing forward and focusing on their purpose?
Oh, that's a question. Okay, so I think there is an incredible thing about the power of yin and yang. And, you know, I think as beings, we tend to just be happy when it's sunshine and, you know, when it's like these types of moments. Whereas I feel like it's so important to feel all the things that God or the universe or whatever higher power that you believe in is giving you to feel, because essentially everything that you go through turns into growth. And I feel like what's for you will always be for you, you know? So I feel like it's super important for everyone to understand that, you know, it's okay to feel the things that you need to feel, and to even, it might sound all the way off key, but sometimes diving and delving into the darkness.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we need the rain just as much as we need the sun. And I think people tend to forget that and tend to brush away any type of feeling that they may perceive as negative. But I think, yeah, like I just said, those dark moments are there for us, and ultimately will help us get to the next stage of who we are as a person, or the next stage of our career, externally, internally, whatever it is. So I would firstly say being able to understand what it is that you're feeling, so that you're then able to go on a journey of overstanding it. And then once you overstand it, I don't want to say you're winning, but like there just comes a new level of growth, a new level of understanding of self, which I think those things are extremely important. So yeah, I guess that would be my advice for creatives, to understand the feelings so that you're able to overstand it, and then also see how you can transition that then into your creativity or into your art. Because I think more time sharing who you are authentically within your art is gonna speak to way more people, and it's real, as opposed to being anything else. So I guess that would be my small piece of advice.
I love that, especially understanding to overstand. That's something that's going to stay with me. And we're speaking a lot about feelings and vulnerability and handling that whilst being a creative. And another feeling that I definitely do struggle with, and you've spoken openly about this, is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
That feeling of when you're in a room and you're just like, I don't know if I'm actually meant to be here. Have I done enough to be here? Like, you just feel really small. Like, how do you overcome those type of feelings, especially being in the environments with some of the biggest stars in the world?
Yeah. I feel like knowing who you are and knowing your values and also knowing what you bring to the table is just, those three things as something that I have nurtured over the past couple of years, like truly understanding my value and what I bring to the table, so that I am able to walk into a room, no matter who's in the room, with my head held high, and also knowing what I'm bringing to the space, both professionally and also just as a human being. So yeah, that's something that's hugely helped me with imposter syndrome. And also there's a guy called producer and author called Rick Rubin. Rubin, you've definitely seen loads of his podcast interviews, and he has a book called The Creative Being, or the Creative Way. And he just talks a lot about imposter syndrome in this book. It's more so targeted towards, I guess, creatives. But yeah, it's a book that's helped me tremendously, even just hearing the way that he speaks on the subject of just understanding who you are, and also like not caring. I think that imposter syndrome sometimes also comes from you've put so much care onto other people's thoughts and opinions. But like, why? Do you know what I mean? Like, why do we care about their thoughts and opinions? So I think going back to just understanding who you are, knowing your value, and sometimes just getting rid of the outside noise of like, what does that person think, or what is that like? You know, you move with good intentions. You know that you're doing all that you can and pursuing your dreams. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, so true. And as you were talking, and when you were like, who cares? It kind of made me think of, so I've been reading Law's book, I actually have it here, How to Build a Fashion Icon.
Epic.
And he talks about basically how he became the image architect that he is now. And he spoke about how he actually started working with Zendaya, and how he got her to wear an outfit. And at first she was really cautious about it. And he I think he put his hand on his shoulder and he was like, but who gives and then she literally went out and did her thing, and she's become so confident wearing all the outfits that she wears. And sometimes you just have to be like, actually, who cares? And that's how you kind of like have this almost rebirth and you start kind of going into like your purpose.
Honestly. So, and it's never ending. It's like, is constant things that we have to keep practicing. Like, so more times, sometimes I'll still walk in the room now and be like, oh, who cares? Like, you're really him.
You are him.
You're the guy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just say whatever, do whatever to just continue putting trust within myself, trust and confidence.
And speaking of you being him, you really went from having no formal professional dance training to choreographing for some of the biggest musician stars in the world. Can we talk about like some of the strategic steps you took to get to where you are now?
So I feel like, obviously, I knew that I had a love for creativity and dance, probably consciously from the age of around 15, 16. But I didn't act on it until 21. So obviously I went to college, I did performing arts and English for 2 years at college. And then I went to Bedfordshire University and did 3 years of performing arts and English. I tried to drop out of uni like 5, 6, 7 times, bare times. Because I was just like, this just ain't it. The course was like 70% theory, 30% practical. I wasn't really training how to become a professional commercial dancer. So I didn't really enjoy my time at uni in terms of my course. So after uni, I then moved to Sweden, which is where I then started to train professionally. And, you know, there was about, I think, over 100 dancers that applied and auditioned for this hip hop course in Sweden. And so I didn't even think I was gonna get in. And then I get the email to say, yeah, you've been accepted. And I was with all my uni lot, open them up. Bawling. But like, just being so grateful that I finally have the opportunity to, you know, be doing something every day that I truly love. So stepping into that type of environment at the age of 21, knowing already that majority of people you've got people that start dancing from 2, 3, 4 years old, doing ballet, or from 12, 13, 14 years old. So I just knew that, again, from my mum, it's like, you have to work 10 times harder than everybody else. Also, the course that I did was like, because people always say, how did you start training when you were 21 and working within a year? And I was like, the course was like a 1-year crash course. It was like, you know, when you have your driving lesson or test.
I'm going to pretend like I do. I still can't drive. Soon come.
But you can do the 5, 6, 7 month period of like learning how to drive, or you can do like a 1 or 2 week crash course. So this was like a dance crash course. Every single day, Monday to Friday, 9 till 6 p.m. And my mentor was actually flying out the choreographers from LA to come to Sweden and train us for 1 week, 2 weeks. So it was super intense. And yeah, I guess I just got thrown in the deep end. But I also knew that I trained with an intention. So as opposed to starting the school and just thinking, I want to become a professional and I want to dance on stages, I went with an intention of knowing that this is going to happen. Especially because I had so many family members that were telling me that I was absolutely crazy for starting when I was 21. I was like, oh God, we'll see. We'll see, because I just knew, like, when I envision something, like there's no one's telling me otherwise, other than what I'm telling myself. So again, it just came with like the utmost amount of work ethic, the utmost amount of manifestation, and actually envisioning myself in these spaces. So I'd envision myself dancing on stage beside Beyonce, Rihanna, Usher. Like when I'm going to bed at night, like before I close my eyes, I'm envisioning like what my life looks like, what it feels like to be on the tour bus, what it feels like to fly from this place to that place. I think like it was all in like just one big concoction of just manifestation, hard work, moving with good intention, because I also understand that, especially stepping into the industry, I really found out that this industry it's 50% talent, or maybe like 40% talent and 60% who you are as a person, how you carry yourself, what your morals are, what your energy's saying. And yeah, those things are super important. So I guess it was just, I was doing this from the age of, literally from when I started. Like I knew from the jump, yeah, basically what I wanted. So I guess that helped.
So I asked you to bring a sentimental item with you. Can you show us what your sentimental item is?
This is my sentimental item. It is a blessing box that was left behind by my mum.
Wow.
So essentially it's got 3 angels inside to represent both myself and my 2 brothers. And she left like these post-it notes. We've got the 2 underneath, but it's personal, so I left them underneath, but I put my one on top. But my one says for myself to grow up concentrating and finishing school and becoming successful and believing in God. Which I actually got tatted here. So I've got the box tatted on me, and then I've also got the post-it note tatted on me. It's just like a reminder. I mean, I think, as I mentioned before, I was grateful and fortunate to have my first 11 years on this earth be guided by my mother. So yeah, this box does not leave my bedside, and it's actually the only thing I have left in her memory in terms of external. So yeah, this is my little sentimental item.
Wow, this is beautiful. I think this has to be my favorite part of the series, you know, having people bring their sentimental item, and you just never know what people are going to bring. And every single time the story is so touching. And I think this is just a window into who you are as a person. I'm sure there may be people in your life that are going to be so surprised and be like, wow, this is seeing King in a whole different light. So thank you so much for sharing that. I also wanted to just touch on your career and go back to your career a bit. You worked with Leigh-Anne Pinnock on her song My Love featuring Arya Starr. Just watching her transition out from Little Mix into a solo artist, that song for me was such a big move. Like, I feel like it really catapulted her into a whole different space. And it wasn't just the song, it was the music videos. And people love to like talk on social media about, oh, you know, artists aren't making music videos anymore. They're not doing it like how they were doing it back in the 2000s. But like, she came out strong and with a strong music video. And what to me made it so strong was the choreography. She could really move in that. And you are a big part of that. You know, you are a big part of why she was able to make such a strong, like, coming out of that group with that music video. Can you talk about that experience, what it was like choreographing for her, and just how that opportunity came about? Because I think, you know, when people look at artists, they see them almost from the face value, but actually they have a whole team that make them who they are. So yeah, can you talk about that experience for us? Yeah,
of course. So firstly, myself and Leigh-Anne go back to 2016, from when I first was working with them as just a dancer. And I made my way down from one of 16 to one of 12 to one of 8 to one of 4. So fortunately, over the years, we were able to build a really good relationship. So by the time it came to 2019, we were on the LM5 Little Mix tour. And simultaneously, I was at a point in my life where I just wanted to know more about myself, more about my history, my people. And so I was on this like self-discovery journey of Black history. And my pops also was diagnosed with cancer at the time. So I was also on a discovery journey of like Dr. Sebi and all these medicines and herbs. And anything that I was learning, I would then let Leigh-Anne know. because
Wow.
she was also a part of a group which had a predominantly Caucasian fan base, which is something that she's openly shared and used to internally struggle with. Although at the time I was the associate choreographer for the LM5 tour, I spent a lot of time with Leigh-Anne, and I would be buying her Black history books or be passing on the books that I was reading, or whatever knowledge that I had gained. I was just really just giving it all to Leigh-Anne as well, and giving her a few little extra like sessions here and there, just to also remind her of just her strength, her power, who she is, where she comes from. So fast forward onto, what was it, 2019, 20, 21, 22, 20, 4 years later, I got the call from her saying that, yes, she wanted me to be her choreographer moving forward.
Wow.
So when that My Love music video came through, and I got the treatment for it, and I knew instantly, firstly, Meji, a Nigerian director, incredible. He's a goat. He's so sick. So when I saw his treatment, I was already like, yes, lit, because I knew that it was going to be laced in culture and authenticity. So that was already one big tick across the project. So then for me, it was understanding, okay, cool. What are we trying to say with this video, and what do we want to share, as opposed to just making choreography? And it was again helping Leigh-Anne step into this new light of like, you are a strong Black woman, and cultured, and beautiful, and all of these things, regal and bold. And so it was like, okay, let's use all of this energy and place it into movement, and then let the movement speak for itself, let the movement project through the screen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how like the choreography was created. Fortunately, I started working on that from about maybe 6 weeks before the music video, which isn't a norm. Usually everything in this music industry is last minute. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to get the brief, get the treatment from Quay before, which then allowed me to go into the studio and make like 60 different versions of the choreography. And I'd pour some of my students in and put it on them, go home, watch it back. Okay, this needs to change, Okay, like, I feel like we need more power, more energy, etc. But it really came from a place of, wanting Leigh-Anne to wholeheartedly step into this new light of who she actually is, and a part of herself that she'd not been able to confidently share while she was in the group. Which is why the music video was, super important, super important for myself also, especially as a Black man, and as someone that has also had my own struggles in the industry because of my skin. I was just like, how can we really come together and just, give the world this piece of magic, this piece of art, and let them truly have an understanding of like who you are, not the Leigh-Anne from Little Mix, but Leigh-Anne Pinnock, like the being, the woman, the queen of who she actually is,
I loved that explanation, and just the relationship that you have with Leigh-Anne, and just how much you were feeding her about her culture, and how much you were helping to learn about her culture. And I love to like observe the industry, and I feel like I've been observing like fashion, music, entertainment for so much of my life, and it's one of the key reasons why I started the series. I just love observing the relationships that people who you see in the spotlight have with the people that work behind them, whether it's their choreographer, whether it's their stylist, and I feel like sometimes you see people in the public eye, they'll always have like one or two people who are like their sounding boards, and the people that they go to. And I talk about law all the time, but to Zendaya it's law, to Tyler it's Leigh, the choreographer, to like so many different people have that person. Even Cynthia Erivo, her stylist is Jason Bolden, and like they have such a great relationship in kind of bringing her forth into the public eye through her clothing, and telling a story through her clothing. So it's just really interesting for me to hear that you have that relationship with Leigh-Anne, and like just I can see like how much you're feeding into her, and it's just really showing in how she's growing as a solo artist as well. So thank you for sharing that, because people wouldn't know. People wouldn't know that you have that relationship with her and that you've actually been helping her in that way. There's so much that people who don't work in the dance industry or don't know about the dance world like don't see. Can you talk about like a moment when you've kind of had to experience a last minute change, whether it's like the entire music video concept has changed or something really important to the set has changed that has kind of made you have to change your entire direction of choreography and how you've actually overcome that challenge?
It's a norm in the industry. It's not even like let me really think back to like this once. It happens all the time, especially as I said in the music industry, so many things happen last minute. So just to give an example, recently we did the MOBO Awards. And you know, I've studied the artist to then start creating the movement, and there were 4 dancers booked for this specific artist, and the artist has come in. Bear in mind I only have 3 hours with the artist before they go on stage. That was all I was given. I wasn't even given 1 day of rehearsal. It was just 3 hours to make sure the artist is good with the track that they're doing and they've got some good chemistry with the dancers. And the artist team came through maybe about 20 minutes after the artist was already there. And the artist was loving it. Like they were loving it. They were loving the energy. They was feeling the dancers. But the team's come through and the manager's kind of been like, yeah, nah. The manager just saw it and was like, nah. Like, with all due respect though, super respectful. Tuamie loves the choreography, loves the vision. He just doesn't think that it aligns with the artist and with the artist's vision, which was interesting for me because I always lead with, again, authenticity, and I want everything to be organic, which is why I genuinely will study an artist before working with them, because I want to create based off of their authentic movement. How they naturally move is how I'm gonna then create the choreography to put on the dancers. So the chemistry and again, authenticity is there. So yeah, in that moment, I was kind of like, well, the dancers are doing like what he's doing, but we had to cut the dancers instantly. And then I then had to just work with the artist for about an hour of just getting them to now hit all of these points and give energy and project all of this energy that they should have had dancers for a big stage like that.
Wow.
And yeah, they had to go on stage then by themselves and obviously deliver, which they did. But just to give an example of just how quickly things can change, or if we're doing a music video, let's say that I've filmed it in a specific way in the rehearsal, and I've already sent that to the DOP and the whole team. But then when we get there on set, maybe the choreography and the setting of everything is just not reading in the same way, which then means, okay, let's add dancers or let's take dancers out. Okay, you guys are gonna start down instead of starting up, or let's flip it this way. But it's obviously super important that the choreography projects through the camera. So yeah, there's just so many last minute changes. It comes with the role. Yes, there's gonna be pressure, it's gonna be a challenge, but also again, trust yourself, know your value. And I think that there should always be blessed. I always have someone from my team come up to me and be like, you okay? Like, say anything I can do, because it really is like, imagine someone just saying to you, okay, create on the spot, go. Okay, I don't like that, but create this whole new thing on the spot. You know, and I'm definitely someone that is more prepared. I like to prep. I like to come in with 10 different versions and then have the room to play. But yeah, sometimes I've been in so many different situations and scenarios where something gets scrapped and then it's just like, okay, create on the spot.
Damn. Sheesh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Honestly.
Wow. And I love how you spoke about how you've been able to overcome that as well. I wanted to talk about representation following on from that, and specifically being represented by a talent agency. I know that you're now signed to Clear Talent Group, and they obviously have a headquarters in LA, and they represent some of the most fresh, biggest like dancers in the world. Can you talk about how you got representation and whether it's something that dancers really need?
Yeah. So I was first signed by Clear Talent back in 2015. So in that year when I went to Sweden, as part of the course, we got to go to LA for 2 months. So when I went to LA, they had a big audition. I went to the audition and they officially signed me. But I wasn't able to work out there because I didn't have an O1 visa. So they were basically like, go back to your country, work as much as you can, build your accolades, and then come back when you've got enough accolades, and then you can start working on your visa. So essentially came back to London, worked out. My intention was to be here for literally about 2 years before going back. But then I got the advice from people here of like, no, build in your country and create a legacy in your country. And then once you feel like you've done that, then start jetting off to other places, which I'm so happy that I actually listened to. So yeah, saying that, I recently re-signed with them about 3 or 4 months ago. And it was like a whole full circle moment because there was some people from the team that had remembered me. And was like, wow, like, you've done amazing over the past 9 years and et cetera, et cetera. So it felt more like divine timing. So yeah, that's kind of like the journey with Clear Talent. And in terms of the importance of being represented, I think it is very important as a dancer that wants to seek a professional career to be represented, but also it's important to not place everything on just that one agency. You know the saying of like, don't put your eggs in one basket. It's a bit like that. I feel like what a lot of dancers do, especially new and up and coming dancers, is they put all of their energy into wanting to be signed by this or that agency. And then they get signed by the agency and some of them might not book a job for a year or 2 years. And then they're in this place of wondering why, how come, etc. Where it's just like the agency is kind of like the first step in order to receive the emails or receive the opportunities or the auditions. But I still feel like your work ethic should always come above that.
You also have your own creative and talent agency called Space to Create Management. Can you talk about how you created that and the vision behind it?
So it was created in 2020. So after about 2 or 3 years of being an assistant and associate choreographer, I kind of wanted to step away from the industry and just create something of my own. So the first initial intention of Space to Create was for it to be a dance studio. So that's what myself and my brother was working on for the first 2 months of 2020, hardcore. And then obviously within a month, we went into quarantine, went into lockdown. So it was kind of like, okay, cool, well, we've got to change the angle of it. And I just started creating visuals and just naming them like a Space to Create production. And then fortunately, was seen by Little Mix to then choreograph their Sweet Melody music video. And from there, I kind of just went on this journey of representing myself. So as opposed to being repped by another agency, I kind of just turned Space to Create into an agency and represent myself. Simultaneously, I had some really good friends that are also incredible creatives that I was helping them on their journeys also. So a lot of the things people were doing, they would just do it through Space to Create agency. And then over years, we've kind of just, it naturally formed into like a home, a house of creatives. So it's been an incredible journey of, I guess, helping other creative leaders with their journey and their pathway, and doing it with just the utmost good energy, good intention, and really being an agency that is truly for the talent as opposed to just booking them for the next job. Like, we truly care about each and every person's journey and trajectory, which is why, yeah, Space to Create is just an extremely special agency and home for me.
Wow. And do you have any advice for people who want to start their own talent and creative agency? Just from your experience on how you built Space to Create.
Yes, I would say that you need patience, you need grit, you need resilience, you need to have a great understanding of how to communicate with people, you need to have a great understanding of the industry and the logistics of the industry and agency operations. And then other than that, just to love what you do and be passionate, and also have a strong and good network, or be willing to build a strong and good network, which takes time, which is why I say patience. But yeah, for the most part, I just feel like lead with passion, lead with purpose, lead with good energy, and yeah, the rest will just start to form itself. One thing that I'm learning is everyone's figuring it out. I don't think I can look at anyone and be like, they've got it figured out. I think everyone's constantly figuring it out. So yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah, that's so true. And thinking about everything that you've done in your career so far, is there a milestone for you that you would say, yeah, that was the moment that really stood out for me in my career? Is there anything that you've done or achieved that you would say is your career milestone? Or do you think you haven't achieved it yet?
I think I haven't achieved it yet. I can pinpoint specific moments for specific things, but I can't pinpoint one moment yet where I'm like, yeah, wow, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that moment's still coming. But as a dancer, being on my first arena tour, which was the X Factor TV show UK tour, and performing on that O2 stage, and looking out to the left and just seeing my pops in the audience, and we were dancing to one of his favorite tracks, and it was the first time him seeing me on stage like that. And you know, 2 years prior, moving back to London, I moved back to London with like £7 in my account, and I moved back in with my dad in Streatham, and I told him, like, I'm gonna be one of the most recognizable and booked male dancers in the UK. So for him 2 years later to then be able to come and watch me dancing and doing what I love at the O2 on stage to one of his favorite songs in the world, for me was just like a dream. So in terms of like dancing, that moment will forever stay with me. And then, yeah, as a choreographer and performance director, I'm still yet to have that pinnacle moment, I'd say.
Is there anyone you'd want to collaborate with, a musician or brand that you haven't worked with yet?
I think Tyler, the Creator, would be incredible to work with. One of my boys just put me onto Olivia Dean.
Oh, yeah.
UK artist.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, very talented.
Incredible, so talented, Olivia Dean. Davido. Davido would be incredible to work with. Yeah, I'd say those. Obviously, Rihanna would be amazing to work with. But for the most part, I honestly don't have like one. I used to, but I don't have one person anymore that I'm like, I have to work with this. But for me, it's like, if you have good energy, you have high work ethic, and you're ready to just go create, have fun, play, explore, and you want to push the boundaries, I'm for it. Doesn't matter whether you're up and coming artist, like already established, like I'm just for the good energy, high work ethic and alignment. I'm for it.
I love that. And I love that you place integrity, good energy and good character as really key things as to like who you work with. And I feel like that's so important, especially in this industry. Like, those characteristics are quite rare to find. So I love that they're a priority for you. And it just comes back to you talking about how you've turned down opportunities that you felt like weren't right for you. And I can tell that you have such good discernment. And I feel like that's
Thank
just
you.
really just an indicator of why you are where you are right now. And I just think you're just going to continue to soar because
No,
you're so
love.
grounded in your purpose. And you can see it in the way you speak about your future and where you want to go. So talking about future and where you want to go.
Yeah.
I love asking this question. It's kind of like a roundup question. It will never get old for me personally, but what would you like your legacy to be? You've spoken about legacy a little bit in the interview.
Yeah.
But if you can think about some of the things that you want to achieve and pass down to some of the artists that you even work with in space to create, what would you say you want your legacy to be?
That is a question. And I still feel like I think about this question a lot. I think it constantly evolves or changes. For the most part, I just know that I want to be remembered for creating spaces for artists and creatives to truly evolve and grow and become their authentic self and reach their full potential. And having space to create as a home to do that would be a legacy that I could only dream of. In terms of myself, I just want to be able to know that when I draw my last breath, to know that I've made my mum the proudest mother that she could ever be. My pops, who's also transitioned, make him the proudest pops that he could ever be. Yeah, and just knowing that, like, you know, I've moved with good intentions, and I've been a walking affirmation for whatever you want to achieve. If you put your mind to it, it is possible. And I know that sounds super, super cliche, but I'm just so big on turning manifestations to reality and knowing that if you can imagine it and you can envision it, then you can turn it into a reality, you know? So I would say that I would love for my legacy to look something like that. My dad always used to say, short steps, long vision. Short steps, long vision. My son, short steps, long vision.
Wow, beautiful. Short steps, long vision, and the other quote was understand to overstand.
Come on.
I was like, I'm keeping all of this down because I'm gonna be, you know, put it on my mirror, put it on my wall, wake up in the morning. Affirmations.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's also another thing, like, I know everyone's brain works differently, but I'm such a visual learner.
Same, yeah.
And I literally have to have everything in front of me. So I have to have the manifestations on my wall, post-it notes to be able to wake up every day and just be reminded of, like, that's what I want. I think, I just think you can't go wrong when you're reminded of it every day, you know? Yeah.
I think this is a great place to close our conversation. I'm really touched by everything that you said, and honestly think this conversation is going to inspire a lot of people. I just want to thank you so much for your time and even believing in the writer's mind, believing in the stars behind the stars,
doing your thing, man.
taking time out of your day to be here. Like, it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much for your time, King.
No, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. Grateful to you and the whole team that you've got here running it is incredible. I'm always going to be for stuff like this. So yeah, super, super grateful, and the honor and pleasure is all mine.